The snow had been falling for 6 days. Ranger Dana Cole drove the truck slowly up the mountain road, her headlights cutting through the white dark. The wipers worked hard. Ice cracked under the tires. Beside her sat Dr. Emil Hess, a thin man with glasses who worked for the county hospital. He held a thermos of coffee he never opened. He just held it, like it made him feel safer. 6 people went up, Dana said. 1 came back. Walked back, Emil corrected quietly. 14 miles in a blizzard, barefoot. Dana said nothing. She kept her eyes on the road. The call had come at 4 a.m. A man named Marcus Webb had appeared at the gate of Pinewood Lodge, a small resort at the base of Blacktooth Mountain. He was wearing a torn jacket and nothing else. No boots, no gloves. His feet were black with cold, but not frostbitten, which was, Emil had said on the phone, medically impossible. He had walked through the snow and his feet were fine. When the lodge owner tried to give him soup, Marcus had knocked the bowl across the room and pressed himself into the corner, shaking his head like an animal refusing a trap. He had not spoken a single word. Dana parked outside the lodge. She pulled her coat tight and stepped out. The cold hit her like a wall. Emil followed, his breath making small clouds in the dark air. Inside, Marcus Webb sat on the floor in the corner of a back room. The lodge owner, a big quiet man named Pete, stood in the hallway with his arms crossed. "He won't sit in a chair," Pete said. "Won't look at the light. I tried to give him a blanket and Pete stopped. He touched his wrist. There was a red mark there, long and thin. He grabbed me." Dana looked at the mark. It was deep. "Has he said anything at all?" she asked. Pete shook his head. Then he paused. "Once, when I asked him what happened up there, he said 2 words. "What 2 words?" Pete looked at the floor. "It's hungry." Marcus Webb was 31 years old. He had gone up Blacktooth Mountain 8 days ago with 5 friends for a winter camping trip. He was a school teacher. He liked birds. His mother had called the police on day 4 when he stopped answering his phone. None of this matched the man sitting on the floor. Dana sat across from him, low, so she was at his level. Emil stood near the door with a medical bag he had not opened. Marcus was thin, too thin for 8 days. His cheekbones pushed against his skin. His eyes were open, but they did not look at Dana the way a person looks at another person. They moved slowly, like something watching from far away. "Marcus," she said, "my name is Dana. I'm a ranger. You're safe now." His eyes moved to her face. "Can you tell me what happened on the mountain?" Silence. A long, hollow silence that made the room feel smaller. Then Marcus tilted his head, very slowly, like a dog that hears a sound outside the range of human ears. He sniffed, once, twice, and his eyes dropped to Dana's hands. She had a small cut on her left thumb from the truck door earlier, a tiny thing, barely a scratch. His nostrils moved. Dana pulled her hand back. "Emil," she said without turning around, "step outside." "Dana." "Now please." Emil left. Dana stayed very still. "Marcus," she said, softer now, "where are the others?" He blinked. Something moved behind his eyes. Something old and dim, like an ember deep in ash. For one moment, he looked like himself, like a school teacher who liked birds. "I tried," he whispered. "I tried not to." "Tried not to what?" But the ember went out. His eyes went flat again. He turned his face to the wall. Outside, Dana found Emil leaning against the hallway wall, arms wrapped around himself. "He needs a hospital," Emil said. "He needs something," Dana said, "but I don't think it's a hospital." They found the camp on the 2nd day. Dana went up with a search team of 2, following the GPS tracker from Marcus's pack, which they had found hanging in a tree outside the lodge, hung there neatly, deliberately, like he didn't want it on his body anymore. The camp was a crater of black snow. The tents were gone. Not collapsed, gone. Pulled away. The fire pit had burned so hot that the rocks around it had cracked. There were sleeping bags torn into long strips and hung from the trees like ribbons. And there were bones. The search team found them under the snow, arranged in a rough circle around the fire pit. They were clean, completely clean, white and smooth, with no tissue left on them at all. The team's youngest member, a boy of 20 named Ray, turned away and was sick in the snow. Dana counted the bones carefully. 5 sets. She stood in the middle of the circle for a long time. The wind moved through the trees with a low sound, almost like breathing. When she came back down the mountain, she went straight to the back room of the lodge where Marcus was kept. Emil was there, sitting in a chair outside the door. He had finally opened the thermos of coffee. His hands were shaking slightly. "He asked for something," Emil said. Dana stopped. "He talked." "Not exactly. He went to the window and started scratching at it. When Pete came in, Marcus pointed at the deer. There's a deer in the back field. You can see it from the window." Emil paused. "He wanted Pete to go get it." "Get it how?" Emil looked at her. "Raw, Dana. He wanted it raw. He kept pointing and then pointing at his mouth, over and over." Dana felt something cold move through her that had nothing to do with the temperature. "We gave him a steak from the kitchen freezer," Emil continued. "Uncooked." He swallowed. "He ate the whole thing in under a minute, on the floor, with his hands." Dana looked at the door. "Has he gotten bigger?" Emil frowned. "What? Since last night, does he look larger to you?" Emil didn't answer for a moment. Then, "I told myself it was the light." That night, Dana read everything she could find. She sat in the lodge's small office with Pete's old laptop and a mug of tea she forgot to drink. She searched for 2 hours. She read old records, folklore, accounts from trappers in the 1800s, reports from northern communities that used words she had never needed to know before. Wendigo, a creature born from hunger. Or not born, made. Something that happened to a person when they did the unthinkable in the cold and the dark, when survival stripped away everything human and left only appetite. The stories said it never stopped growing, that the more it ate, the taller it became, the hungrier it became. That the hunger was never filled because the hunger was the point. The hunger was what it was. The story said you could always tell. The eyes go flat. The nose sharpens. They lose interest in warmth. They stop sleeping. And they grow, slowly, quietly, always a little taller than you remembered. Dana closed the laptop. She walked down the hall to the back room. The door was slightly open. She pushed it and looked inside. The room was empty. The window was open. Cold air poured in. Dana crossed the room in 3 steps and looked out into the black field behind the lodge. The snow was blue-white under the half-moon. The deer was gone. So was Marcus. She found his footprints in the snow leading toward the tree line. She followed them with a flashlight, moving fast. Behind her she heard Emil calling her name, but she didn't stop. The footprints changed after 30 feet. They started normal, 2 feet human stride. Then they stretched longer, much longer. The distance between each print grew until Dana had to take 4 full steps to get from one to the next. And the prints themselves changed shape, the toes lengthening, the heel narrowing until they barely looked like feet at all. Dana stopped. She shone the flashlight into the tree line. 2 eyes caught the light. High up, far too high up. 7 feet, 8, she couldn't tell. They were pale and flat and they did not blink. For a long moment, nothing moved. Then the eyes turned away and the dark between the trees shifted, and whatever was standing there was gone. Dana stood in the snow for a long time. They never found Marcus Webb. The official report said he had wandered into the wilderness in a state of psychological collapse following a traumatic event and was presumed dead. The 5 other campers were listed as victims of a probable avalanche, though no avalanche had been recorded that week by any weather station. The bones were quietly noted and quietly filed. Emil Hess requested a transfer to a hospital in the city 2 weeks later. He didn't explain why. Dana signed his paperwork without asking. Pete closed the lodge for the season. He didn't say why either. Dana stayed. She filed her report the way they wanted her to file it, clean and simple and useful to no one. But she kept a second notebook, a small brown one she carried in her coat pocket, and in that one, she wrote what she had actually seen. She wrote about the eyes in the tree line. She wrote about the footprints that stopped being human. She wrote about what Marcus had said, those 2 words, before he stopped speaking entirely. It's hungry. She wrote one more thing at the bottom of the last page. She wrote it because the stories all agreed on one point, and she wanted it written down somewhere in case anyone ever needed to know. The Wendigo is never full. The bigger it grows, the more it needs. It was a man once. That's the worst part. Somewhere inside the hunger, there is still a man, and the man is still starving, and the man is still afraid, and the man is still walking, and the mountain is very large, and the winter is very long,